This presentation we're going to go through the different kind of criteria that we're basically going to use to judge the hunter under saddle horse. Some of the things I'm going to talk about, if you think about them, are going to be the types of phrases or things that you're going to use if you're presenting a set of oral reasons for a horse judging competition. So basically think about your hunter or saddle horses. Yeah, it really is a fairly popular show event. In the past, it's been called Bridle Path Hack and English Pleasure. If by chance you're judging 4-H and open shows, you still might run into classes that are categorized or called English Pleasure. And these truly could be classes that you might have a variety of different types of styles in there, from some saddle seat and different things within that typical class. Some people think it's fairly similar to Western Pleasure. It's mainly because horses should be a pleasure to ride. I mean, it is a rail class. They do have to walk, trot, and canter on the rail both directions and stop and back up. And we are basically judging the horses on their quality of movement. So those are also similarities to the Western Pleasure class. Differences naturally are because they are the hunt seat horse. And so we're asking them to go more forward in kind of a long, slow frame. So some things that we talk about for your hunter horses: they should be suitable to purpose. Think in the broadest sense that maybe they are also out there to follow hounds and go cross country. It's really considered one of the most preliminary classes for riding disciplines, and so both on the flat and over fences, kind of the basic class for them to go through. So the main criteria we're going to evaluate our hunter and saddle horses are naturally the functional correctness, their quality of movement, attitudes and manners, and also we'll throw in with that their headset and head carriage. So basically, as far as functional correctness, is that do they follow the rules as far as picking up and maintaining the proper gait, depending on what it is, the walk, the trot, or the canter, at the correct time, and making sure that it is a true gait of what has been called. Nice and quiet upward and downward transitions that are broken quiet, maintaining a proper rate of speed and a fairly consistent rate of speed, and also making sure that those horses are sound as they go through the entire class. Now, quality of movement is really pretty much impossible to evaluate when you're looking just at slides, and so you really need to see horses move throughout on video. But just to talk about it a little bit, some things that we do look and evaluate as far as their quality of how they move is that they should be in proper cadence and balance. We want those horses to be nice and soft. They want it to maintain a nice level top line and a very collected type of frame. We look for our hunter horses to have a little bit bigger stride, a longer stride, and look for the way that they're using their legs both in front and behind. So some things you can think about when you're asking yourself as you're looking at these horses as they go around the rail is which really appears to be the steadiest, the most brokest, and the most consistent horse in the class. Sometimes, and these are some things that we're looking when we're evaluating their attitude and their manners. Occasionally they might not be the most highest quality mover, but many times the broke, consistent, steady Eddie kind of horse in the class very often is the one that comes to the top. We want to have that they have a good attitude and positive temperament, that they're really prompt to respond to the different cues and aids from the rider with very minimal to no resistance. We don't want to overburden talking about headset and head carriage, as it has gone through a variety of different transitions over the year. However, generally, if a horse is going in good self-carriage, nice and balanced, generally the headset and head carriage have taken care of themselves. Remember that when we set the head, that's the way the nose goes in or out, and we want it to be either straight up and down or bumped out a little in front of the vertical, as this horse is here. They want head carriage is how high they carry their head up and down, and we really would like it to be somewhat relatively close to being level with the horse's withers. Now, some things about it overall, just looking at a good hunter under saddle horse, is he should have some very long load strides that are reaching forward with a lot of lengthening. We ask them to be very relaxed with a free-flowing movement. The gaits are correct. We want a 2-beat trot, a 3-beat canter, that they're going in good cadence with a lot of symmetry, a lot of even rhythm as they go through the various gaits. They need to be obedient, have a nice bright expression, alert ears, be responsive to light hand and leg contact. We don't want them to be ill, mad, those types of things. They should be responding smooth in their transitions, have a really nice long flowing motion to their stride. Again, on the headset, we want their head carriage, we want their their poll to be level or slightly above their withers, and with their head set should be slightly in front of on the vertical or slightly in front of it. So here's a little bit, couple horses you can kind of look at to compare on their top line just a bit. This horse is ridden a little bit on the muscle. He's a little bit more of a tight rein kind of horse. We can see his nose is bounced back just a little bit. He looks like he's not as positive in his attitude as maybe we would like to see. And a phrase that I was taught one time by another judge was that the toe will go to the nose. And if you constrain this horse and have him held back, it's going to also shorten his gait to some degree. So we'd like him to be a little bit happier kind of horse going around the rail with his nose bumped out a little bit more, moving a little bit softer. Okay. In this picture here, we've got a horse that, to me, he's bumped downhill just a little bit. You can see that as far as the levelness of his top line, he's running downhill just a bit. His nose is really pretty much vertical, but I'd like him to elevate his head so he kind of level that top line out just a bit. Okay, a little bit on some terminology as we go through the different gaits, and these are some things as you do have to put a set of oral reasons together that you can look and use, but we want a natural flat-footed walk, that it really is a 4-beat gait. Okay, they should move straight and true at the walk, be nice and alert, have a reasonable length of stride that keeps with the horse's conformation. Okay, any loss of forward motion really should be penalized if they're too slow, if they stop, or those types of things. With the trot is a 2-beat diagonal gait, meaning the inside front and outside hind go together, and it should be a relatively long, low ground covering trot that's balanced and has a lot of symmetry and a lot of cadence, meaning that both legs come down and the stride is the same both on the inside and the outside. Smoothness is always more essential than speed. Just because it's an English horse doesn't mean that we go faster. It means that they have a longer, more engaging kind of stride. Okay, the front knees, we would like them to be relatively flat, so you can see that they're really trotting out of their shoulder and not a lot of up and down motion of those front legs. With minimum flexion of those front legs. Short, quick strides and extreme speed really will be penalized. We really want a lengthening, and if it's asked for an extended trot, that there is more lengthening of the trot, lengthening of the stride. When we talk to the canter, okay, and remember in a hunt seat horse we canter, we do not lope. It is a true 3-beat gait. Again, should be smooth and free moving, very relaxed, long and low, and also ground covering. We look to see that the hocks are driven up deeply underneath that horse, but he has a lot of self-carriage and reach and extension with that front leg. Then if we ever ask for a hand gallop, that should be a lengthening of the stride and there should be a difference of the speed. The horse should be under good control and then also come back and halt in a smooth, balanced manner. Not that often do we ask for a hand gallop in a hunter under saddle class anymore. It's probably the gait that you see more commonly asked for in an English equitation class. Some of the things that are going to be on the negative that are going to be scored with the severity would be short and quick strides that are more animated, more up and down. Naturally, the wrong lead is going to be a severe one. Wrong diagonal to some degree, however, it's not an equitation class, and so we're not going to be highly critical of riders that are not on the correct diagonal. Okay, that's not nearly as big an issue. It's a huge issue if you're judging a equitation class, but not so much in an under saddle class. But naturally, also if they break gait in a trot or a canter, that's going to be considered also a fault. Some other things that are excessive speed, or on the flip side, excessive slowness. If they don't go ahead and take the gait when it's been called for, some things that also are going to be considered faults and judged on the negative. Some other things, if they're elevated in their head carriage, too high or too low, overstressing or straining with the neck, and also the nose going behind the vertical, or from the flip side, if they're excessively nosing, pushing their nose out. Some other faults, depend on how severe they are, is not maintaining light contact with the horse's mouth. This is in the hunt seat class, they should be going light contact, and so an excessively loose rein should be considered a fault of the performance. Stumbling, sullen, dull, lethargic horses, again, those are also negatives. And if we have tail movement that seems excessively dead, those are also negatives. A little bit more about rein length. This is a horse that's at rest. He's not going down the rail. However, if this was a horse that was being shown in the class on this much slack of a rein, that should be considered a fault and been used as a negative on that horse. This paint horse here, really, he's on a soft rein, and his rein length is very fine and very appropriate. It could be a little bit softer than this, but this is a perfectly fine rein. I'm not going to go in too much again at the top line with the head set and head carriage because we've kind of talked about that. Rail position is also something many times folks will pull their hunt seat horses off the rail just a little bit and show them to the inside. That's perfectly fine so long as it does not go to the extreme. We've had some situations where horses have been pulled quite far off the rail to kind of try to accentuate some of their movement in that, and you as a judge need to look and see sometimes that is a little bit to the extreme. So these are just some things, some basic things that we're going to use to evaluate the hunter under saddle horse. Things to think about when you're looking at them. Also, for those of you that will be putting a set of oral reasons together, there's some ways of talking about some of the different things between the different gaits and how we're going to look at the hunter under saddle horse.